Salutations friends, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a very personal video, and I mean an extremely personal video, so I just want to apologize if these aren't the type of videos that you guys like, but some of you guys really appreciate them, and I personally really need to do videos like this from time to time. I enjoy doing them when they're happy, and I need to do them when times are tough. They just are kind of like an outlet for me, so I need to do this video today. So I will be back to my regularly scheduled fragrance videos tomorrow, but today's video is going to be very real. It's going to be very hard, but I'm going to explain to you guys in depth everything that's happened this past year and what happened recently, and just kind of the weight it's had on me and my channel and my plans for the future. So let's get into it. First and foremost, I've touched on a lot of these subjects over the past 2 years, so this isn't like some new information that's coming to light, but it is stuff I want to talk about. The past year, my channel, I haven't been as consistent with my uploads. I normally do Monday through Fridays, or I did Monday through Fridays, but this year hit me particularly hard in a lot of different ways, and it was very much impossible for me to keep up that schedule. I do desperately want to go back to that schedule, and hopefully I'll be able to do that in the next few weeks, but a lot has happened the past few months, the past few weeks, and the past few days, and so I just kind of like wanted to talk to you guys about that. So about, I'd say a month ago, I uploaded a video talking to you guys what had happened with my move, the health of my family members, and I had just started uploading my videos from my phone rather than plugging it into my computer and upload, because I upload through my phone. And there was like a little thing that said download. I had tried to upload the video 3 times and I had issues, and then so I was like deleting the ones that said download error, and I had accidentally deleted the video because that was the video that was uploaded, but it said it wasn't the uploaded video. It was weird. So that video got deleted, and I decided to hold off from re-uploading it because a lot of things were changing, and I figured I would just kind of give you guys a fully uploaded video or an update. So the biggest things that have happened this year, or when I say this year, I mean 2019, was my marriage went almost to ground. It was pretty bad. I got to a pretty dark place. My health deteriorated for a few months. I couldn't eat or sleep for like 3 months straight. My baby nephew needed open heart surgery, and my dad's cancer was back. If you guys didn't know, my dad was battling with orphanageial cancer last year, and then he beat it, or he finished his treatment. Everything looked really good. And then it actually metastasized into his lungs and bone. And that's what I've been dealing with for, I say, since June until now. So the past few months, I moved from Fort Lauderdale to Gainesville. I started working at a job at a beauty store that I love. You guys probably know which store it is by now. I'm just not allowed to say where I work, but I mean, obviously it's probably pretty apparent where I work. I do absolutely love my job. It's just been a transition in regards to like having friends to not having friends, and just the move up here was both really exciting and really good, but also a lot of negative too in regards to just like finding out who I am, reestablishing myself up here, things like that. And on top of that, when I moved, like literally the day I told them that we had bought the house and we're going to be moving in the next few weeks, my dad had gotten the results back from some tests that the spots on his lung and bone were cancer, and so they were starting treatment. They were going to be doing a trial for 2 medicines for immunotherapy, and so we were really hopeful to that. The cancer that he had like a genetic mutation, I believe that's what my mom was saying, that actually responded really well to treatment. And you know, everything was looking hopeful. The road was looking like it was going to be a tough road, but it was a really hopeful road. That's, I think, kind of where I left off in the last video, if you guys watched the video. So everything I'm going to say now is what's happened since then. So my parents, because it was really hard for my dad to travel very far because he was going to Moffat, so it was like a 6-hour drive, but where I moved to was like an hour drive for them. They were going to stay up here for treatment, at least initially, until he got stronger, and then they were going to be coming up here every few weeks for his treatment. But he had a really, really bad reaction to his first treatment. We think that there was a a bad reaction to like the Benadryl and the what's the word I'm looking for? The other medication that he took, and it got really bad. And that was a turning point for us in his treatment, because it went from us being really hopeful to everything being really dark. And I don't need to go into too much, because I think we all know like what cancer does and how bad it can get. And if you don't know, you are so lucky, because it's very hard to watch. It's very hard to watch somebody you love so deeply go through that, and watch the other people in your life whom you love struggle, because my mom worked very hard every day to take care of my dad, but it's a hard job. Being a caretaker is a hard job. I know that. I've done that for other people. And so being up here working full-time, watching the people you love be sad, losing hope, be in pain, it was hard. It got really, really dark for a bit. And things were looking up for a little bit, and then a few weeks ago it got really, really bad. So my dad had a feeding tube and it was leaking, and he was unable to really sit up, so he was laying flat most of the time. And because he was laying flat, he actually developed pneumonia, and I believe, if I say this correctly, it was bilateral pneumonia, so he had a pneumonia in both his lungs in all the quadrants. So I mean, he did a really good job of getting pneumonia. And he was going into the hospital, and I remember the last time we had to get him transported to the ER, it was really scary, and it was a very traumatic experience. And this time, like, I asked him, I'm like, are you ready to go? And he's like, yeah, everything's good. And he like waved at me when he was like going into the ambulance, and I was following behind him. Like it wasn't, this was supposed to be a maintenance run to the hospital to just get this feeding tube fixed so we could get his food in him, so he could sit up straight. And the whole experience, just with the hospital and the doctors, I mean, some of the nurses were amazing, let's be honest, some of them were absolutely incredible. But our experience at the hospital was very lackluster, very neglectful. Doctors were very negligent, and he developed pneumonia. He grew very weak. He was getting bed sores. It got really, really, really bad. So it got to the point where my father was going to basically asking for hospice care. At this point, he had asked, just, you know, I just want to go. And that one of the doctors had decided to over-medicate him on one of his pain pills, and we got a call early in the morning one day that we need to rush in there right now, because before he was stable, just, you know, we were trying to make him comfortable, and we got a call saying, come in, your dad's dying. So this was 2 days after Christmas. Luckily my sister was up here with her family, so my sister, my mom, and myself and my husband, who drove, we went to the hospital, and we spent, I think I was there for 48 hours. I know my family, my mom and my sister, I mean, we all took turns, but we were all there for pretty much at least 36 hours each. And that was a hell day. He was completely unconscious. His vitals were okay, but there were a lot of questions. We found out that the doctor had overprescribed his fentanyl patch, and the doctor even admitted to that, so we weren't happy about that. But because my dad was at the point in his cancer journey where it was pretty much just making him comfortable, we didn't know that at the time, because the doctors weren't really saying anything to us. So if I'm looking away at the camera, I'm sorry. I know a lot of you guys really don't like it when I don't look at the camera. I'm just recollecting things, and it's really hard for me to talk about this, but I want to. So we were angry about that. We're angry about all the bed sores. I mean, he was having bed sores on his heels and on his ears. I mean, it was ridiculous. And so he was in a lot of pain, but he was unconscious. So we removed that fentanyl patch. We put a small one with a way lesser dosage, so not to shock his system, and we just kind of waited to see what would happen. And so we sent my sister home, because she had her sons here, you know, my nephews, who were very young, and one of them was sick. So we kind of forced her to go home to spend time with the boys, because they missed her, because she left really quickly and they're really young. And my dad was unconscious, and then he woke up, and that was the saddest thing I have ever dealt with in my entire life, because when he woke up, he started sobbing uncontrollably, to the point where it was like he was grasping onto me with all the strength that he had. My mom's crying, I'm crying, and he's just scared, in pain, confused, and just terrified. Absolutely terrified, because, you know, he was super overdrugged, and just, this was at like, I want to say it was at like 11 o'clock at night, and he was just crying and just inconsolable for like hours, and it was the saddest thing ever. And if I'm not crying, my tears are empty. I don't think another tear can come out of me for the amount I have cried this past like 2 weeks. And that was really hard. So we called my sister, and my sister came back, and we stayed with my dad. And I would say after he kind of calmed down, and I think his body kind of regulated the medication and everything, he was up for like 30 hours, or like something like that. And we spent all that time at the hospital just talking with him and visiting with him, and coming to grips that, you know, the hope that we had for his recovery wasn't happening. But we wanted to cherish every moment we had together. So that was, I'd say, less than a week ago. And it was really rough. We started going through looking for hospice houses. We found a really beautiful place to send him. And then taking him there took a few days, and his recovery, just his entire everything just deteriorated so rapidly. By the time we actually got him to the hospice care, it was he was like in and out of consciousness at this point. We basically told the nurses we don't want him in any pain, like not an ounce of pain. You do whatever you have to do to keep this man out of pain, because I mean, the cancer was breaking the bones in his body, is what the doctors were telling us. I mean, like, it was traumatic to see and to feel. And I think he was there for 2 nights. And what we would do is we would take shifts, since I had to work during the day. My mom would be there during the day, and I would sleep at night. So a few nights ago, he was there. He was still unconscious, obviously sleeping. His vitals seemed, you know, they told us it could be days. And I got there, and my mom stayed a little bit later because I was late coming home from work. And she left, and I was there, and I usually sleep on a chair by his bed, but I was sleeping on the couch that they had, and I decided I'm gonna pull up the chair. I was texting my husband something, and then I just remember not hearing him breathe. And so my dad passed, and I was in the room with him, and I have to say, like, that night there was like a sadness that came over me, but there was also a peace that came over me, because I knew at that moment he wasn't suffering anymore. Like, I could honestly say 150%, like, this man that I love more than anything, like one of the people that I just love so much, is no longer suffering. And I mean, it was devastating, you know, because the thing is, the nurse came in and we wanted to clean him up and make him presentable, because I had to call my mom, and that was hard. But we wanted to make sure that he looked peaceful, and just, you know, cleaning him up was very surreal, because, you know, he wasn't there anymore. It was just his body. But I can say that there was a peace that came over me at that time, although a great sadness, just knowing that this man that I loved so much, that I admired so much, wasn't suffering anymore. And so it was really sad. It was really hard, and I'm still dealing with it. This was just a few days ago, but that's ultimately what has been going on, and it cultivated into that. And I know that I have had a lot of plans for my channel last year. It's just with everything with my family's health, everything with the move, everything with like my relationship. I mean, everything that's been going on, it's been so hard for me to be able to sit down and be genuinely happy with you guys. But YouTube has always been an outlet for me. It's always been something that I've loved. It's always been something that I've taken very seriously. It's just been very, very hard to make it a priority when there's real things that I've had to like put out there and deal with, and just being able to deal with that. So this past few days, because it's been 2 days since he's passed, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to do a video so soon, but I also know that my dad really liked my videos, so I feel like he would be okay with it. I mean, everything that we've done in regards to mourning decisions and what to do for his body has all been based on what his desires were, not what our desires were. it's been really, really hard. But I can say one thing is that the tears that we cry, the sadness that we feel is for us, it's not for him, you know. We know he's not suffering anymore, we know he's not in pain anymore, so what we're feeling is a very selfish sadness, you know, but it's hard. Anyone who's had to deal with any type of terminal illness like this, it doesn't just have to be cancer, it can be, you know, it can be Alzheimer's, it could just be any type of illness that kind of ravages a family or people that you love. It's hard. It rocks you spiritually, emotionally, physically, psychologically. And this entire journey has been so hard because I've seen my dad fight and I've seen my dad beg us, just let me go, and we're trying to fight for him, and there's all these questions like, should we have, you know, brought him to hospice sooner, or should we have not done this, or should we have fought harder here? What if we didn't make this decision, would he still be with here? There's all these what ifs, and I think that's what we're battling with right now. My mom and I and my sister and our families, what we've been trying to do is trying to live the last few days and actually create memories with each other, like do things together to honor my father. Instead of crying in a heap on the floor, we've been trying to do things on top of doing what we have to do in regards to, you know, what are we doing with the body? How are we doing this memorial service? I have to go back to work. How am I handling that? We've been trying to take every moment that we've had and actually do something with each other, because every moment is precious. And that's something we've definitely taken away from this. And it's something that we haven't taken for granted, but it's something that we put on the sideline because we've all been so busy, we've all been dealing with our lives. And it's just kind of like reminded us that, you know, every moment is precious, and the people that you love, like, really hold them close. And so that's just something that me particularly, because I am kind of a workaholic, has just been like, what do I do to, you know, make every moment with my family important and special, you know, and that's kind of where we've been at. So that's how I started my 2020. This new decade, I said goodbye to my dad. But through this entire experience, I've always told my mom, my sister, anyone, you know, instead of looking to the negative, count your blessings. And the blessings I have in regards to the situation are that my dad became conscious from the fentanyl patch after that horrific, I'd say like 4 or 5 hours of him sobbing uncontrollably, which is the worst memory, even worse than watching my dad pass. My sister and I, we got a real chance to talk and really get closure with my dad. The night before, we were there for a few hours and we had a beautiful conversation and just a nice time. Like, we played games and talked and just kind of like had closure with my dad. So I mean, even though it ended the way that it did for our story here in regards to us being on the same plane together, we had a beautiful closure to this that a lot of people aren't given, and that's a blessing. The other blessing is that although it was very traumatic and painful up to that point, his passing was very peaceful. I could have easily not noticed if I wasn't so used to how loud he is when he breathes, because he is very raspy and shallow. If I hadn't been having him live with us for months and been accustomed to how he sounds when he sleeps, especially when he's medicated, I wouldn't have known. I could have easily gone to sleep and woken up. But I'm really glad in some weird way that somebody was there that loved him, was there to kind of like, even though I wasn't standing right next to him and I feel kind of bad, I was like texting on my phone, but I was getting ready to move everything over and I go to sleep holding his hand, so he could have waited another minute, thanks Dad. But there was somebody in that room who loved him. He was never alone. He was never alone in the moments when he passed, and so that to me is very special. I'm very happy I was there to kind of clean up his body in some weird way. I'm glad that to kind of like get him ready to be taken, have his remains taken, that I was there to help. And the nurse there who was helping was very respectful. She was very sweet and kind, but I'm just kind of glad I was there to kind of help clean him up and send him off. One of the things that we are as a family is we hold on to like rituals and memories really hardcore. And one of the things that I remember is when I first moved out of the house, like when I first drove away with my car full of stuff, I moved like down the street, guys. I moved like 5 minutes away. I did not move far. You could walk or bike to my house where I moved to. It was not, I mean, it would be a far walk, but you could bike there in like 20 minutes or drive in 5 minutes. Like, I was not far. And I just remember my dad loading up my car and standing in the middle of the road and just watching me drive away. And so when they took my dad's body, I just kind of wanted to give him that same thing. So I walked, you know, my mom went out, they were loading up the car with his stuff, and so we went and I just kind of watched them take his body and put it in the car to go to the funeral home. I just kind of wanted to give him that same send-off that he gave me, and I don't know if it means a lot to other people or if it's weird, but I just kind of, like, for me, needed to do that. And so that was something that to me was meaningful, that I wanted to do, because if unfortunately the tables were shifted, if it was me in the body bag and my dad was alive, I know he would have done that. So it's been a really rough few days for me. But unfortunately, and this breaks my heart, is that this experience of dealing with cancer, dealing with watching someone you love battle this illness is so common. And that breaks my heart, because this isn't like, oh, I'm so sorry. Everyone's like, yeah, you know, like my mom, this is the 6th person that she's had to go down this road with. Like, it is heartbreaking to think of that, to think that my mom has had to do that. And it's just been a heartbreaking experience in general. But one thing that we are grateful for is that, and is a blessing, is that he passed peacefully and that he is no longer in pain. And us as a family, we're gonna be fine. You know, financially, it's gonna be weird for my mom. It's, you know, it's gonna be a transition for all of us, but at the end of the day, like, us as a family, we're not broken, we're not fractured. You know, yeah, tempers might have flared at the end there because, you know, that's a very emotional time, but we're gonna be okay. And we want to make sure that we're okay, because we know that's what Dad would have wanted for us, is to be okay. But it's been tough. So if you're wondering where I've been, that's what's happened. That's ultimately where it's been. On top of that, my nephew needed open heart surgery again. So during this entire situation, my sisters also had to deal with my nephew needing like a major heart surgery, but he's doing beautifully. Those boys are just my heart and soul. So we're really grateful, blessing, you know, we're really grateful for that. I don't know, it's hard to sit here and think that somebody who you thought would always be there isn't there anymore, but that is life, you know. And I think that at the end of the day, the fact that I got to have such an amazing dad, I got to have such a close relationship with somebody that I love, but I was truly blessed to have amazing mom, an amazing dad who worked so hard on our family and who I was very close with. And to say goodbye to one of them is just devastating, but I'm gonna make sure that I don't squander the hard work that they put into raising me, into the type of person that they helped shape me into being, the work ethic they've given me, and just all the love that they've shared. I'm not gonna squander that, so. But if you're wondering where I've been, that's what I've been dealing with, and I do have some pre-filmed videos that I filmed before this happened, so if you see some videos coming up, that's what those are. But I just kind of wanted to let you guys know what was up, because I always like to be very personal with you. Now, I don't mind talking about this. This isn't going to be the last time I talk about this, obviously. So definitely, if you guys have any questions on what to do to be an advocate for the people, if you're dealing with this and you don't know what questions to ask doctors, how to proceed, please, I have no problem talking about that to make anyone's trip or journey easier, definitely feel free. Having to go back to work, my job has been very considerate in giving me a few days off and dealing with this. I do work in a management position, so it is a little bit harder for me to have time off than other people, but everyone's been really accommodating, and I've been so incredibly just grateful for that, especially since everyone that I work with is dealing with equally heavy stuff. So it's not like I'm the only one dealing with this. We all have our stuff that we're going through. So, you know, everyone's been very accommodating. I've been very blessed to work for an amazing company with amazing people. But do not feel bad if you guys have any questions or you want to know any more details. If you think somebody you're going through is going through this, everyone's story is different. The type of cancer my dad had was easily treatable. There were things that were done wrong by everybody down the road. And if I can offer any insight or knowledge on how to prevent that from happening, like, I will definitely let you guys know. But at the end of the day, what's important is my dad is not suffering anymore. And even though I miss him incredibly, I would never for a minute want him to go through the pain and agony that he was going through. And I am just so grateful that he is finally able to rest. So that is what gives us solace. That is what gives us, you know, hope as a family. We're picking up the pieces very selfishly, but we would never for an instant want him to go through that again. So I'm just letting you guys know that too. Anyway, this video is a little bit weird. I'm very sorry. I promise I'm not gonna get this heavy again. I don't think, I'm hoping, praying, rebuking that anything like this will happen in the next few years. I do have some very real life changes I'm planning on. Some hard, some really exciting. So I mean, this next year or two, there's going to be a lot of changes for me, but I welcome those changes. I, however, do not want this type of change. So in any case, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I don't know if you enjoyed it, but I hope it brought you something. If you were just morbidly curious about what was happening, here you go. But I do get a lot of comfort in sharing my personal life with you guys through these chats, and this was a very important conversation to have with you guys, so I just wanted you guys to know. In any case, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.